turns his back on material comforts in favor of a lifelong spiritual search. While most people are content to raise their standard of living and carry on a program of incremental self-improvement, none of these figures was content with the values that their original lives had given them. Each came to the realization that nothing less than a complete change of identity would suffice in order for them to shift from psychological fragmentation to spiritual wholeness. Their stories are inspirational because they demonstrate the possibility of utter transformation in the human character. While skeptics view a conversion experience as taking away the person they knew, for the convert just the opposite occurs. Now existing for some higher purpose and not only themselves, their potential as a person is finally realized. Practical spirituality. The Buddhist nun Pema Chodron, in her book The Places That Scare You, tells of the time beat poet Jack Kerouac went into the mountains alone to meet face-to-face with God or Buddha, he wasn't sure which. All that happened was that he encountered his own naked self, unprotected for the first time by booze and drugs. We can have grand ideas for becoming enlightened, but the more common reality of the spiritual life is daily effort to be compassionate and stay attuned to right principles. This was the approach taken by no less a figure than Mohandas Ghandi, whose experiments in truth, described in his autobiography, included severe dietary restrictions, celibacy, and simple living, daily habits that over decades transformed him from a self-absorbed young man into a symbol of selflessness and human freedom. The mindfulness ideas of Vietnamese Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh are similar, in that they charge even the smallest acts in daily routine with significance. Every moment is considered precious. Eckhart Tolle's surprise bestseller, The Power of Now, also reminds us of the peace and power that come from living in the moment. To retain a beginner's mind in everything we do keeps us mentally fresh and free from making wrong assumptions. Discipline and mindfulness can reduce the ego's hold on our thoughts and actions. But most of us don't consider that earnest spiritual seeking can itself be a product of the ego. Chogyam Trungpa's idea of spiritual materialism is that striving to be a spiritually advanced person is really to make us feel good. The higher or true self is not interested, for instance, in quitting a job to live in a monastery or ashram. If we do become enlightened, it is by working through the issues and problems of our lives as they are. We will do anything to avoid the places that scare us, to use Chodron's phrase, but it is only in acknowledging our real thoughts and darker side that true spiritual healing can occur. Miguel Ruiz's form of practical spirituality is based on the idea from Mexican Toltec tradition that everyone makes unconscious agreements with themselves and with society about the sort of person they are. By being more conscious about these agreements, we can regain mastery over our lives. We can become what Dan Millman calls a peaceful warrior, taking the sword to any aspect of ourselves that does not empower. The Great Variety of Experience. In order to write his landmark study, The Varieties of Religious Experience, William James read a large number of autobiographical accounts of spiritual awakening. Not being particularly religious himself, he was less concerned with the objective truth of what the subject may have felt or seen than the effect that it had on their lives. What mattered, he concluded, was not so much the content of a person's beliefs, but whether or not they led to personal transformation of a positive kind. A religion is not simply a collection of beliefs, but a particular way of seeing the world. A way of knowing that satisfactorily explains the place of humans in the universe for the believer. This applies to the nature-based cosmology of Native Americans such as Black Elk, but equally to the Stoical understanding of the universe expressed in the philosophy of Epictetus. Just as the Sabbath is of central importance in the Jewish religion, so reincarnation is absolutely necessary to the Hindu way of seeing the world. And while Christians may view goddess worship as the work of the devil, its adherents find in it a beautiful and complete experience.